Hello, folks, and welcome once again to Focus on East Alabama. It is our pleasure to have on program with us today Bradley Lutz, who is the director of Project Greene Light here in Phoenix City. Brad, let me shake your hand and welcome you once again to Focus on East Alabama. It's always a pleasure to have you. And as I told you when we were talking off camera just a few minutes ago, it's been quite some time since we've actually talked about the organization of Project Greene Light itself. I'd like for you to just tell our viewers a little bit about the history of Project Greene Light, how it got started, the founding, can't say fathers because it wasn't fathers, was it?
No.
The founding individuals as far as Project Greene Light is concerned, the name change, etc. So I'm just going to kind of turn it over to you for a minute, okay?
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I enjoy being with you today. So Project Greene Light was originally founded as the Phoenix City Russell County Council for Abused and Neglected Children. And it's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is. That's a long time.
It is. And it was in the late 80s when Judge Greene was on the bench, and he was seeing a lot of kids come into care, into foster care late at night, weekends, holidays, and they didn't have an immediate place to go. And so sharing that with his mother, the late Mrs. Cora Reed Greene, she felt real compassion for those children and formed the organization and the board and found a place and started housing the children on a temporary basis until a more permanent solution could be found for them, so that they didn't have to wait at the sheriff's department or in DHR office for long periods of time.
Right, okay. And actually the original organization got started in an old educational building that was at one time the educational building for the old First Baptist Church that sat on Fifth Avenue in Phoenix City. The one-story brick building, a two-story brick building that was adjacent to that, right? Did you know that?
I did not know
you
that.
Did not.
You're giving me a little bit of history.
Right. Of course, it's located now adjacent to Trinity Methodist Church. Well, years past, First Baptist was on this side. The Education Center for First Baptist was there, and then Trinity Methodist was on the corner. Of course, that was before the big addition to Trinity Methodist Church, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Brad, I know originally you mentioned that Cora Reed Greene was the principal founder of this, along with her son, the late Judge George Greene. Also, who were some of the other individuals that were involved with? And it wasn't called Project Greene Light to begin with. What was it called?
It was the Phoenix City Russell County Council for Abused and Neglected Children.
And then later it became known as the Cora Reed Greene Home, right? Home for abused and neglected children.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, as times change, you kind of got to rebrand a little bit and change. And we just wanted something that, one, Mrs. Greene never wanted her name on it, I found out. She just wanted to be in the shadows.
Exactly,
she didn't want credit for it. She just, a really humble lady that cared for children, and that's all she was worried about. And so discussing with our current board, we started talking, well, what's a way we could honor her and Judge Greene, but and still honor her wishes at the same time.
Right.
And so that's where one of my board members suggested, why don't we call it Project Greene Light?
Okay. And let's give credit where credit is due. Who came up with the name?
Her name is Miss Shawanda Terry.
Okay.
And she suggested it, and we threw it around, and everybody just loved it, and that's where the name came from. And it gives honor to both of them, but still respects her wishes of not having her full name on the organization.
Right. As I told you, too, off camera earlier, since it has been so long since we've had you in, wanted to again allow you time to tell folks just about yourself, your background, your training, your family, what they're up to, so forth and so on. So again, it's yours. Okay.
Well, I spent almost 9 years in the military, was medically retired in 2014, and during that transition time got involved with foster care in the Georgia side of the river, and we ended up adopting twin boys from foster care. And so before that, I didn't know much about foster care. I knew it existed, but didn't know any of the real details. And through that, just really developed for a passion for kids in foster care, making sure they had a home to go to, a good stable foundation for them to relaunch from.
Right.
And so during that transition, one of the board members at the time worked on Fort Benning and knew a friend of mine and knew I was transitioning out of the military, and thought maybe this would be a good fit, and we talked, and that's how I ended up here at Project Greene Light in May of 2014. And so I've been there a little over 2 years, and we've been charging ahead. Not as fast as we'd like. You always hit those roadblocks, but we've made some good progress and navigated some pretty tough hurdles that we didn't know existed at the time.
Right. Tell me a little bit more about your wife and your family now.
Sure. Been married to my wife Amanda for, we just celebrated our 15th wedding anniversary this year.
Congratulations.
So we have 4 boys. I have a 13-year-old, a 10-year-old, and twin 5-year-olds. So,
okay.
So we
the
have
twin 5-year-olds are a handful, probably.
Well,
right?
all 4 of them actually are.
Now, they're all in school, right?
This is the first year all 4 of them are in school.
Right.
So
Okay.
8th grade, 5th grade, and kindergarten. So
Okay, that's great. Is your wife working now?
she works part-time at Cascade Hills Church as a volunteer coordinator for our children's ministry there.
Okay.
So
all
she's
right.
really enjoying it. Just started this past spring doing that.
Okay.
So-
So I assume you probably attend Cascade Hills?
We do.
With my good friend Bill Purvis.
Yes.
Then. As a matter of fact, a little bit of human interest here. Actually, I interned or served as an interim music director at Cascade Hills when it was still in the old original building. Okay, not before. This was before the new church was
Right.
built. Actually, I spent about 6 months there as interim music director.
Small world.
Which, yeah, exactly right. My good friend Bill Purvis. He's a great guy.
He is.
Okay. Now, tell us, Brad, just a little bit more about what actually Project Greene Light does as far as the activities that you and your board are engaged in. Okay.
So
Take us step by step.
Sure.
Okay.
So when I came on, we were involved in a host of activities, from parties to they had tried some tutoring and things like that. And so when I came on, they really asked that let's get focused on operating an emergency shelter like we had. Back in 2010, federal laws changed, and really the federal government got more directly involved at the state level of how foster care is to operate. So through that, our shelter transitioned out of being a traditional shelter into a foster home, and it just wasn't a good fit for our organization that way. And so we decided we really want to operate a traditional shelter. And so we started navigating that with the state of Alabama about 18 months ago. It took us a little while to find out who we actually needed to talk to at the Department of Human Resources at Montgomery level, because it's a state level task and not a county driven one. And so we started that process, and we had a facility, we had our existing facility, the Stone House in Lakewood Park, and we were all set to remodel that, and the cost just got exorbitant on making it meet specifically the Americans with Disabilities Act requirements.
Oh, okay.
And so, you know, modifying doors, a parking lot, a proper ramp system, proper kitchen, bathroom, and so originally we thought it was just going to be a bathroom modification, and it blew up on us dramatically, way bigger than what we were expecting. And so we kind of stepped back and reevaluated what we wanted to do. And so now we're in negotiations for a 5-acre parcel, and we want to build from the ground up is our objective here.
Okay. All right.
So.
Okay. Are you anywhere near closing on the deal, you think?
I'm not sure.
Not sure.
No, the party we're working with has been real amicable towards us with terms and stuff, and so we're just waiting for them to tie up some loose ends on theirs. It was a bigger parcel, and they're subdividing it down for us, and so we're working on that piece of things with them right now.
Okay, all right. Now, what are some of the biggest needs of Project Greene Light, Brad?
The biggest needs right now is we're going to have to raise a bunch of capital to get this structure off the ground. We've raised about $260,000 right now in private capital to go towards it, and we're going to need at least another $75,000 just to get our doors open.
Okay.
To complete the project. And you know, the goal is to do it without going into debt.
Right.
Because, you know, as a nonprofit organization, debt will just drown you faster than anything else.
Right.
And so
so what kind of figure are you looking at as to an overall figure, including purchasing the property, building the building to according to plan?
Right now we know we're in the ballpark of probably right around $300,000, and we want to get a little bit of cushion past that, just in case some incidentals come up that you know we didn't see initially in planning. So we don't have finalized plans yet because we're working with an architect once we have the property, so that we only have to do the drawings one time.
One time.
Yeah.
Right.
Versus we could draw up a beautiful plan now, and then we got to go back and pay them again to make it fit the property, the elevations and grades and things like that. Because so much, while it's going to be a beautiful home, it still has to be treated like a commercial property.
Right. Okay. Well, I won't ask you any information about where the property is located or anything like that. We'll get you back in after you get it underway and talk about that. But I know you want to make that appeal to anyone who might be watching us that would like to share with you in the construction of this new facility. How would they go about making a contribution?
Sure. The easiest way is to go to our website, which is projectgreenlight.org, and green is spelt with an E on the end of it. And you can click on our donation tab and it'll take you right to our donation page. You can also mail it in to P.O. Box 3601, Phoenix City, Alabama, 36868.
Okay. And on the envelope, just Project Greene Light and the post office address. You'll take any amount, right?
Yes, sir.
Anything from $1 to $1 million, right?
That's right. No gift is too small, especially if we come together as a community. Those little gifts really multiply quickly when we work together as a community.
Right. Okay. Now, when we come back, I want you to take us through actually step by step the procedure that you follow as an agency dealing with these kids.
Sure.
And maybe share with us a couple of success stories.
Okay.
I really wish that we had asked you to bring a couple of kids in with you, but we don't want to embarrass them or anything, right? But you can share with us a couple of real success stories, which I think would be very interesting to our viewers. We've just been given the signal that it's about time for us to go to our first break. So we've reached that point. So we're going to break away with our conversation with Brad Lutz. We'll be back with more Focus on East Alabama in just a moment.
It takes less than 1 minute to find out if you may have prediabetes. You can do it here. But you probably won't. You're busy. Kids, work, show coming back in 48 seconds. So let's do this now. Hold up one finger if you're a man, women, 0. 3 more fingers if you're over 60, 2 over 50, 1 over 40. If you're not sure, keep in mind you're sitting on a couch right now, so 1 more finger if you're not very active. 1 finger if yes, 0 if no. 1 yes, 0 no. Next, find the body type that looks most like you and hold up that many fingers while I look around awkwardly. And that's it. If you're holding up 5 fingers or more, you probably have prediabetes. Sorry to be so blunt, but hey, you're busy. Just go to the site.
Hello, folks, and welcome once again to Focus on East Alabama. Our guest on program today is Bradley Lutz, who is, now Bradley, I said director. Is that your actual title?
It is.
Director of Project Greene Light here in Phoenix City. This is an organization that deals with, well, what's the proper term to apply to these kids that y'all deal with, Brad?
They're foster children.
Foster children.
Sure, they're children that have, for a variety of circumstances, come under state-appointed care. We don't make that determination. That's between the Department of Human Resources and the court system.
Right.
They've made a determination for whatever reason these children need to come into care for, hopefully temporary, and most children are. It's a temporary process that they're in care.
Just guessing, Brad, what would you say roughly, how long do these kids normally stay under your, when I say your care, I'm talking about the organization's care?
So children who are in foster care, it can be anywhere from 90 days to 2 years. It really just is a case-by-case basis. There isn't one set standard for when a child's going to come into care or leave care. Now, our mission is, once we get this facility to be open, we'll be a 30-day placement facility.
Okay.
And so the goal is when a child's going through this really rough time, because it's a traumatic experience, regardless of what mom and dad have done, it's still mom and dad, it's still the the normal that they know. And so they're brought into care, and we want a place that they can go instantly, that's home-like, that they can be cared for, loved on, you know, sheltered, fed well, get back into school if it's school time, and then give DHR the time to make a good placement for them.
Right.
And because right now, as DHR works really hard, their goal is to place them, so they just start calling, and it's not, they find the first place that can take them, which might not always be the best fit. So we'll give them time to do their job well, because of being able to have them somewhere for up to 30 days.
Well, now that you don't have the old facility up next to Trinity Methodist Church, do you have a place that you're using on a temporary basis now? That these kids can be kept?
Not for us. Unfortunately, we can't, because we don't meet the federal requirements for ADA, and that's why building this new facility is so critical, so that we can hire the house parents and get it up and running and start providing this vital service.
Right. So for now, you just place them with a family in a temporary situation? You don't, but DHR does.
Yes.
Okay.
And so we don't have any control of where they go or anything like that. We just want to be a resource to DHR that says, you know, regardless of what day of the week it is, what time of day it is, if it's a holiday or not, there's an open door here for you to bring children to.
Well, if let me ask you this, Brad. If you have some folks out there that might be watching that can't necessarily make a monetary contribution, but maybe could house a child on a temporary basis, should they come through you or just contact DHR directly?
They want to contact Russell County DHR directly. They handle all the classes, the licensing, the training. They have it's called GPS, and it's the whole program that foster parents go through to get licensed, and just give them some insight to how the foster care system works, so that it's not just throwing them into a mess that they have no idea what's going on.
Right.
So there is a process, and they do a really good job of getting people through the process and supporting them in it.
Okay. Now, Brad, without divulging any names or anything like this, I'd like for you to tell me just a little bit more about some of the primary causes that place children in these kind of situations. Some of the things that separates them from their parents. Sure. Okay.
Right now in the state of Alabama, the #1 cause of kids coming into care is substance abuse issues.
Okay.
And of course, that's not just an Alabama problem, that's a nationwide problem.
Right.
The opioid epidemic has just really driven the number of children in foster care up dramatically, and that's probably the #1 driver of foster care in the country right now. We'd gone through a period where foster care was reducing, which is what we want. We never want kids in foster care. The goal is to have them in a safe and loving environment that's stable, that's home, that's mom and dad.
Exactly.
And so the numbers had actually started tapering off, but then with this opioid explosion really of abuse, it has really driven kids back into care.
And as just a point of interest, statistically speaking, how many kids do you personally or your organization deal with on a monthly or yearly basis? Would you say, just estimate for us?
So last year, through our support services that we were offering, we supported about 150 children total.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean necessarily all one time. We average, right around anywhere from 75 to 100 children in care in Russell County at any given time. And of course, it changes almost on a daily basis of kids leaving the system and kids coming into the system.
Right.
And so last year we touched right around 150 lives between the programs that we were running, and they were good programs. We did some back to school stuff with Somerville Baptist Church, an Easter program with them. We did a foster parent banquet, and we had a really good time with those things. But the heart of our mission is this shelter. And we love good things, but we want to do the great thing, and our great thing is getting this shelter up and running.
Right. Okay. All right. Now, you mentioned to me too before we came in to have our conversation that you have some events planned coming up in the near future.
Yes, sir.
To help raise some funds for the new shelter. Tell our folks all about those.
Sure. We're having our second annual 5K. We're really excited about it. We had an amazing turnout last year. On average, a first-time 5K in our area will average between 40 and 50 runners. We had 89 participants show up for our first event.
That's
so just the community support blew us away. It was way bigger than we thought was going to happen, and so and people are asking about it
Where
again.
do y'all usually stage that?
We're going to do it right in Lakewood Park. We start in Lakewood Park. It runs up through Lakewood Primary's parking lot, and then into Lakewood Elementary's parking lot, and then back down into the park.
Okay.
So it's the first part of the course is a little bit challenging, but it's all downhill on the way back. And so we had some really phenomenal times last year, and people who thought they were going to have a difficult time on the race all set their best times running. So we're really excited about that.
If we have some runners out there that want to participate in this, what's the procedure that they need to follow?
They can go to projectgreenlight.org, scroll down on our homepage, and you'll see 5K and Fun Run right on the front page. We also have a children's fun run with it. So if your kids want to run, they can come out. We do, for children under 5, they do 1 loop inside Lakewood Park. And then for children 5 to 10, they do 3 loops of 1 mile. And all our participants will get a t-shirt, and then the children all get a finisher's medal as well for the children's
How
fun
about
run.
old folks like me now? Do you have a special category for the old folks?
We have you can walk or run our 5K. We had a number of walkers out there last year.
So 5K is 5 kilometers,
Yes,
right?
sir.
How does that translate in miles, Brad?
3.1 miles.
I might be able to do that.
And so, and every one of our participants last year, even our walkers, finished in under an hour.
Do they have sponsors and raise money? The sponsors that raise money for their contestant?
The runners don't. We do. You get some sponsors to help cover the cost so that we can provide the t-shirts and stuff, and then that way the runners' entry fees all is donations for us to help get the organization sustained. Okay. So if there's some businesses out there,
I was going to say, you make your appeal. This is your chance.
We're looking for sponsors right now. So if you email the number 5 and the letter K at projectgreenlight.org, we can get you all the information on becoming a sponsor. We have some great packages available for sponsorship. And CTV last year was our main sponsor, and we really appreciated that, and it really helped us get the word out and make a big successful event.
Okay. Now, as I told you when we were at break just a moment ago, I'd like for you to share with us just a couple of success stories of some of the kids that you've dealt with and situations that you've dealt with, if you would do that, please.
Sure. The first one that comes to mind was last year we had Somerville Baptist invited the kids out to their Easter egg hunt, and they just do a wonderful job throwing that, inflatables and games and stuff. And there was a siblings that had just came into care the night before, and you could tell they were upset when they got there, with an amazing family loving on them, and and just talking with the foster mom, she's like, they're pretty tore up right now. And from when they got there to when they left was just a transformation in their spirit. From fear and being upset to, you could just see the light of being a child in their face again, because they got to play games, they got to be with other kids, and they weren't a foster kid. You know, it was because it was a church-wide event, and they were just treated like normal children, which is what they want to be, and which is what they are, just in some unique circumstances. And so just during that time, they had that opportunity to reset their minds and their souls and their spirit, and just get to be kids for that 3-hour period without a care in the world. And that's what we want. That's the outcome we want for all of them, is so that we're giving them that platform to be successful and feel normal and go on and be part of our society as people who have cared for them.
Right. Okay. All right. Can you share another story for us?
Another thing, and not directly, but we've done our Give Hope program the last 2 years, which is raising presents for the kids in care, and our community has just knocked it out of the park both years. To this past year, we were able to do specific wish lists for the kids and pass them out.
Okay.
And the DHR rep I was working with, Miss Hammond, she just, every time we were able to bring a load of things people had bought that were specific to what the child wanted, she's like, you don't understand what this is going to do for them for Christmas. And again, it's just giving them that there's adults that care for me. I might not ever know them, but it shows our community loves us, and you're supporting the foster families as well, because they get pennies to care for these kids. People talk about foster parents being in the money. Well, they're not in it for the money because there's no money in it.
Exactly.
And most of them, every one of them comes out of pocket at some point to care for these children. And so, you know, Christmas is just like any time of the year. It's not a cheap venture. And so being able to support them and let them give children that Christmas morning experience of, one, having gifts under the tree, and then two, opening gifts that I asked for is exciting.
Now, I know last time you were in too, we talked about the fact that you can accept some material gifts sometimes too. If someone wants to make a donation specifically of material things, is there a procedure they need to go through? Do they need to call you and make arrangements, or what?
The best would be to call me, because we've actually partnered with the Foster Parent Association here in Russell County, because they've opened up a boutique called Buttons and Butterflies right across from Somerville Baptist Church.
Right.
And so they're looking
It's in a little strip shopping center up there, okay?
And so they've painted it. They've got a beautiful logo on the wall. I mean, it's just like going in a store. But they're in need right now of new clothing.
Okay.
Of all sizes.
Okay.
So,
from infants all the way up to what, 16, 17?
Yeah, children come into care up till age 17. So
right.
Infant to adult. But they're, and the hardest one that they have is school age boys.
Okay.
Some things you can get donated and it's okay if they're used, but school-age boys destroy just about everything they wear.
Yeah, I know. I raised 3 boys. Yeah. I can relate
and having
to that.
4 boys, we hardly pass anything down in our family because it gets worn out. They're hard on things.
Exactly.
And so they could really use some school-age boys' clothing, new clothing.
All right.
And shoes, because that's the 2 things. Boys destroy clothes and shoes constantly.
Okay. Brad, we have about 3 minutes left. I want to allow you the opportunity again to make that appeal to someone who may be watching, who might want to make a contribution, the procedure they need to follow. That person out there watching that has a $10,000 that they want to donate to you, the procedure they need to go through. So the balance of this time is yours.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. We are so excited to have your support, our community support. Of course, we have 2 ways to donate. The first way is projectgreenlight.org, and then click on the donations tab and it'll walk you right through what you can do to donate online. Or you can mail us a donation to projectgreenlight.org at P.O. Box 3601, Phoenix City, Alabama 36868. And of course, we are a 501c3 not-for-profit, so all contributions are tax deductible. Mm-hmm. And we can't do this without the community. There's not funding in our state to operate something like this. And so it's going to be a community effort to make this happen, to give children in our community some normalcy when they come into care. So we need your support. And another way you can support us is coming out to our 5K and running it, or just volunteering at it. And again, you can email 5k@projectgreenlight.org, and we'll get you any information you have on being a sponsor, a participant, or a volunteer at it. And so we're really excited about that event. We'd love to see 150 participants this year.
All right. So again, the date of the 5K run?
It's Saturday, December 10th. The race will start at 9 a.m. Packet pickup and late registration will open up at 7:45 in the morning right at the pavilion inside Lakewood Park.
Okay, at the pavilion inside Lakewood Park. Okay, we've got just about a minute left. So again, let me shake your hand and thank you for coming in and being with us on program today. We appreciate it very much. We thank you too, folks, for being with us for Focus on East Alabama. Need to remind you, this is brought to you by CTV Beam, your hometown connection for cable television, home telephone, and high-speed internet. We'll see you for our next program.